Welcome to Season 2 of T2, the Terminator 2 Show! I am your host, your Uncle Casey, and we have a brand new set that I'm really excited to be filming on, because it not only looks way cooler than that crappy old set that we had, but it's filled with all sorts of cool Terminator artifacts and vintage memorabilia from all over the world. And we have all sorts of upgrades too. Remember that crappy old TV that we had on the old set? WKVS Studios has upgraded us to an all-new, high-definition... What the hell is this?
Yeah, they said it was no longer in the budget.
No longer in the budget? What's this? WKVS Studios wishes to thank our loyal viewers for supporting our illustrious first season of T2, the Terminator 2 Show. Unfortunately, we went overboard on the design of the new set of T2 and are currently on the verge of financial ruin, having to lay off many staff members and put several other projects on hiatus. If you would like to help support your favorite shows from WKVS Studios, please head over to the official T2 store at tpublic.com, where you can get your very own exclusive t-shirts, stickers, buttons, and more. Thank you for supporting T2, the Terminator 2 Show. So I have to shill t-shirts now? Oh, why did I expect the tea to taste better? Anyway, let's get on with the show. Today we're taking another trip outside of the US to see how Terminator 2 Judgment Day was released in other countries. T2 was a huge hit in Japan and still is to this day, which is why a lot of really unique and interesting Terminator memorabilia has been produced exclusively for the Japanese market. And we're going to be looking at all of it right here on the show. But where a lot of our discussions on how T2 was released in other countries will only require one episode each, like when we covered T2 in France a few months back, we're going to have to tackle Terminator 2 in Japan over multiple episodes sprinkled throughout the entire run of T2, the Terminator 2 Show. There's just so much cool stuff to cover. So this is part one of our look at Terminator 2 in Japan. Terminator 2 Judgment Day was released in theaters throughout Japan on August 24th, 1991, about 2 months after it was released in the US. The film grossed approximately 12 billion yen in Japan, which is the United States equivalent of about $4. No, that's just your old Uncle Casey being silly. It was actually the equivalent of about $150 million. Which means that over 1/4 of the total worldwide box office take for Terminator 2 Judgment Day came from Japan alone. 1/4. For comparison, the film pulled in about $204 million in the United States. So the Japanese market really went nuts for T2. In this first chapter of the story of Terminator 2 in Japan, we're going to be focusing on where all of the marketing for Terminator 2 really started over there. The Japanese Pressbook. This is not the Japanese Pressbook for Terminator 2 Judgment Day. This is the program that was sold in Japanese movie theater gift shops as a souvenir when T2 was showing. But today, fans and collectors mistake this for the Japanese Pressbook all the time. And I think the reason is because movie theaters in most countries just don't sell souvenir programs like this. Which I personally think is a bit of a shame because they're really interesting and fun to look at. What we're here to talk about today is the totally different Japanese Pressbook. As we discussed in the French episode a little while back, Pressbooks are a promotional tool sent out by film distributors to various media entities like newspapers and magazines, and sometimes to movie theaters, in order to build some buzz about an upcoming film. They were not intended for the general public. That's why this is far more rare and difficult to find than this, because tons of these were sold to excited moviegoers throughout Japanese theaters in 1991. And of all the different Terminator 2 press books that I've seen so far from different countries around the world, like, for example, the French version that we covered not too long ago here on the show, the Japanese version is pretty damn big. I mean, look at this thing. It's kind of monstrous. And it's also way more interesting and visually exciting on the inside than this one was. Which is why we're devoting an entire episode to it. Now let's crack this beast open and see what's inside. Right after a word from our sponsor.
シュワルツェネッガー食べる日清カップヌードル。
Hey, we're live, pal.
Oh. That was quick. Welcome back. Right. Terminator 2 Judgment Day was distributed throughout Japan by Toho-Towa. Toho is Japan's oldest film importer and distributor, founded way back in 1928. And for the past nearly 100 years, they've distributed to Japanese audiences everything from Metropolis and King Kong to Men in Black 3 and Jurassic World. And in 1991, Toho had the distinct privilege of importing and distributing the greatest motion picture achievement in the history of cinema, Terminator 2 Judgment Day.
I'll be back.
To get the Japanese press buzzing about the blockbuster that was on its way to their shores, Toho sent out these gorgeous full-color press books. The cover makes use of a screenshot from the iconic theatrical teaser trailers, and this overall design was very popular in marketing Terminator 2 throughout Japan. For example, the theatrical teaser posters that Toho sent to Japanese cinemas used a very similar layout, as well as the Souvenir program books that we mentioned earlier. And check out this first page. I love the visual style of this, with all the bright red colors superimposed with some really cool little grayscale promo shots. And you'll see as we cover more Japanese Terminator 2 stuff in the future, they were really fond of this image of Uncle Bob looking back over his shoulder through the haze of tear gas from the SWAT team at Cyberdyne. They used this image a lot in Japanese promotional materials and on Japanese merchandise, which we'll cover more of in future episodes of the show. Page 2 gives an introduction to the film by describing some of the reasons why Terminator 2 is such a big damn deal. First, they list the ways it's been such a huge hit in America, with the biggest opening box office weekend in history. They talk about how fans have been building anticipation waiting for over 6 years since the first film to see this, stuff like that. But the thing I find most interesting about this first section is that they bring up the Gulf War, which came to an end about 4 months before Terminator 2 was released in theaters in America. My best guess is that what probably happened is that everyone who was fighting over in the Gulf learned that Terminator 2 Judgment Day was about to come out, and so they all just agreed that they should just stop fighting so that they could go see the movie together. Anyway, this mentions that America probably would have spent the July 4th, 1991 weekend celebrating their victory in the Gulf that brought an end to the war, but instead, the amazing spectacle of Terminator 2 Judgment Day was the main topic of conversation during America's July 4th weekend. Now, I didn't make that up for a joke, that's actually what's printed in here. And it's kind of true. I mean, at this point, on the July 4th weekend in 1991, Terminator Mania was at a fever pitch. It really was what everybody was talking about. Anyway, this next section talks about how several other major films were also recently released in America, like Backdraft, Hudson Hawk, and Robin Hood, but they couldn't touch the success of T2, which is still a major, hot movie as it's approaching its release here in Japan. This next section, what's this? Make sure to check out @T4Two Show on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram for all kinds of fun Terminator nonsense like fan artwork, original memes, stupid pictures, and other bullshit. Wow, that's actually what the card says. Here, they mention the incredible talent that was required to create the film's revolutionary visual effects. And according to Google Translate, they say that that talent deserves to be considered the skill of the gods. It's hard to argue with that. I mean, remember that this film came out way back in 1991, and what these artists did in terms of special effects was revolutionary for the time. I mean, hell, forget for the time, this stuff still holds up to this day. You can fight me on that. This next section touts the film's unprecedented budget of over $100 million and states that that's about 10 times what the original film cost to make, which is actually a bit of an understatement. If you actually believe the rumors that the movie cost over $100 million, that would actually be about 15 times what the original film cost. At the time, people thought that Kuroko Pictures was completely insane. That is, of course, until they saw the finished product. Finally, this last section brags about how all of the original film's key staff members are all still intact. Returning characters are being played by the same actors as they were in the first film, and the film's core crew members are still intact as well, like James Cameron, Gale Ann Hurd, Stan Winston, Adam Greenberg, and others. And it goes on to say that this group has made film history. This next page lays out the story of the film, including the backstory of the previous Terminator film and the entire plot of Terminator 2, including the big plot twist of Arnold now being the hero and everything. Then, it goes on to explain that due to a special request from Kuroko Pictures, none of this information is to be used in print materials. And the next page shows a letter sent to Japanese press correspondents from Mario Kassar of Kuroko Pictures, asking them to help keep the story of T2 a secret until the film is released. I think it's really cool how in Japan, they wanted to maintain the secrecy of the big plot twist, where the deadly Terminator character from the original film is now the hero in the sequel. Because here in America, that was spoiled for all of us in the film's final trailers, which really sucked.
Once, he was programmed to destroy the future.
You don't know what it's like to try to kill one of these things.
Now his mission
Get down.
is to protect it.
Come with me if you want to live.
But in Japan, all of the trailers were cut to make it look like John and Sarah were running from the Terminator, and very little of the T-1000 was shown in Japanese marketing before the film premiered. Let's take a look at one example of how the trailers for T2 looked in Japan. Pay attention to how the footage has been cut to make it look like the Terminator is attacking Sarah, John, and the police.
Same make.
These were taken at the West Highland Police Station, 1984. You were there.
Same model.
These were taken today.
You have to let me see my son. He's in great danger.
New mission.
He's all alone. You have to protect him.
Arnold Schwarzenegger. Terminator T2.
I'll be back.
Now, if you've seen the American trailers, you might remember that the same make, same model, new mission tagline was referring to the Terminator's new mission of protecting humanity rather than ending it. But in this Japanese trailer, New Mission intentionally misleads the audience into thinking that instead of trying to kill Sarah Connor, the Terminator's new mission is to kill her son. It makes no mention of the T-1000 whatsoever, and it shows almost no footage of him, which will make more sense as we read further into this press book. These next 2 pages give a selection of interesting production notes on the film, like a more detailed breakdown of the budget, some highlights of the star-studded world premiere in California, and some facts about what it took to film the incredible freeway chase scene near the end of the film. But we're going to be giving each of those topics their very own detailed episodes of T for Two in the future, so we'll save them for later. One of these I do want to share, though, is this one right here that states that when it comes to makeup applications, Schwarzenegger was transformed to the Terminator 35 times throughout the course of filming T2 and spent the cumulative total of 6 days sitting in the makeup chair. It's easy to understand how normally this process can get pretty tiresome and stressful on an actor after so many weeks of sitting there like that.
3 more hours of this. I don't know how much longer I can take this.
But the makeup artists from T2 are quoted here as saying that their work went smoothly because Arnold is a professional.
All right. But I need my foot massages, my oatmeal, my Austrian Christmas music. I need it all. Go ahead. Do it.
It also mentions the story of the time when Schwarzenegger's 1-year-old daughter, Catherine, was brought to visit him on set, and she got pretty upset when she saw her father's mutilated face. These 2 pages at the center of the press book open up to reveal a fantastic full-color gatefold spread, full of beautifully printed imagery and... We'll be right back.
No, we already did a commercial break.
Yeah, I know that we already did a break, but I wasn't expecting God hand job, and I'm not exactly sure how to handle it right now, so let's just go to commercial!
After these messages, we'll be right back.
Now create your own Terminator with the BioFlesh Regenerator.
I'm back! Yeah? Think again. Battle damage!
Add flesh compound.
Terminator created.
Terminator.
I'm back!
Okay, so I think I figured this out. I've had some time to look it over, and it doesn't seem to have anything to do with gods or hand jobs. I think this was just an error in translation. Because you see, this whole section is all about the artists who made this film the incredible visual effects spectacle that it is. And remember a few pages ago when this press book referred to the talent of the visual effects artists as the skill of the gods? Well, I think that this is referring back to that. I think that this headline is intended to suggest that these incredible artists accomplished their job with the hand of a god. So it was a god hand job. At least that's the best I can come up with. The press book rounds out with a few pages about the principal cast and crew. There's also a message from Arnold Schwarzenegger in which he says he doesn't do sequels just for a paycheck, but only if he believes in the story, which is why he declined to participate in Predator 2 and Commando 2. But he says that he truly believes in Terminator 2, which he describes as far more intelligent than your typical action film. In a message from Linda Hamilton, she confesses that she played her role in the original Terminator film with a constant belief that there would be a sequel. And she says that when they wrapped filming in 1984, she felt confident that she would be playing Sarah Connor again. Here, Edward Furlong shares a pretty cute memory about how he was nervous to talk to Schwarzenegger at first because he just wasn't used to being around big movie stars. But he says that Arnold treated young Eddie like his little brother and was very friendly and playful with him, which helped make him feel more comfortable on the set. Some pretty basic actor profiles for Robert Patrick and Joe Morton here. There's really nothing too exciting or interesting, which is unfortunate considering how important their roles were to the film. But for the purposes of marketing this film to the Japanese audiences, they simply weren't the focus here. I want to take a moment to mention that music for today's episode has been graciously provided by the illustrious and talented Gina Luciani. You can watch the full video of her performing the love theme from the Terminator over at her YouTube page, where she has all sorts of fantastic videos where she recreates popular music from movies, television shows, and video games on various wind instruments. And she even does tutorials for ocarina music from The Legend of Zelda. How cool is that? It's youtube.com/Gina Luciani Flute, or you can follow the link in the description below. And we thank Gina for letting us use her performance in today's episode. Now let's finish this press book. I'm hungry, and these noodles are cold. On this final set of pages, there's a message from James Cameron, which, according to Google Translate, says that what the Terminator and Terminator 2 have in common are that they are human stories of normal people placed in abnormal situations. He says that the Terminator is a very elaborate machine, and this film may have amazing special effects, but these films have story elements that are more important than the special effects, and he's proud of that. He says it's based on the story of humanity, which is important because if you can't empathize with the characters, it's just a superficially interesting spectacle. And he says that's why women, not just men, enjoy the film. He says the biggest attraction of T2 is the new ideas and characters, and the human drama. He says, even if some of the characters are the same, we are aiming for something new and different. Terminator 2 Judgment Day was huge in Japan, as we'll continue to discuss in future episodes of the show. And I can't help but wonder if part of the reason it was such a big success over there is because Toho seems to have poured a ton of money into marketing the film right from the start. I mean, just look at this press book alone. These couldn't have been cheap to design, produce, and mail out. The size and quality of this is really impressive, unlike any other press book that I've personally seen yet. And I really think that it had a big effect on kickstarting the excitement for Terminator 2 in the Japanese market, which still lingers strongly today. Also, did you notice much of the T-1000 in here? Neither did I. I mean, maybe just a few brief glimpses of him, but they were pretty small, and he was definitely not a focus of this press book. And as we saw here today, it was the same way in the Japanese trailers. A few very brief glimpses of him here and there, just in the last few trailers that they released in Japan. But they never even showed his normal form, and they definitely didn't use him as a selling point. To me, that says a lot about Toho. It says not only that they believed in the importance of saving the amazing visual effects of the T-1000 as a surprise for the moviegoers, but it also says that they believed in this film. They didn't need to show all of the revolutionary visual effects in the trailers because they knew that Terminator 2 Judgment Day was more than just a visual effects spectacular, but that it was a story with heart, a story with a real message about hope and humanity. That, or they just didn't use any of the T-1000 in their marketing because Mario Casar told them that they couldn't. Tune in for our next episode of T for Two, the Terminator 2 show, where we'll, what are we talking about on the next episode? I see we're still doing this card thing, huh? And this one is actually blank. So, I guess we don't know what we're covering next. But, if we have it figured out by the time we're done editing this episode, we'll put a little teaser right here. So, tune in for that. And that's it for our Season 2 premiere. What do you think of this new set, huh? Let me know with a comment below, and while you're down there, jab the like button to encourage YouTube to suggest this show to more viewers. And until next time, sayonara, Aka-chan!